Welcome to Conversations with Lady Pruitte. This month we are celebrating women. Yay! March is Women's History Month, and today my guest panelists and I are going to be sharing some of the women who have made a great impact in our lives, and then also how to come up with ways that we could support and encourage other women in our lives. I'm going to ask each of the ladies to please introduce themselves, and we're going to start with Keisha, then move on to Alex, and then move on to Michelle. And please give us your name and also tell us what's your profession, what do you do for a living, and also a gift or a talent or a skill that you may be very good at.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Keisha Scott. I am an IT manager for the Department of Defense. I have worked in IT since about 1990. A skill, I don't know if it would be considered a skill, but what comes to my mind is my fourth grade teacher. Her name was Sister Anita Daniels. She told me that I was a natural born leader, and that stuck with me throughout my life. So I think that that's a skill set that I have in different circumstances where I don't mind taking initiative. I'm very comfortable in a leader's role.
Hi, I am Alex Perquette. Professionally, I am a security specialist for my company, and I am the first Black female security specialist for my company. Personally, I belong to the arts. I'm an avid artist, performing in visual arts. So, yeah.
Hi, my name is Michelle Howard. My background, I was told by several people that I'm good at caregiving, and I also as a clinical assistant for several years in the ophthalmic world. So that's what I do.
Right. And myself, I call myself a stay-at-home wife because my children are all grown. And a talent or skill that I have. One skill that I do remember as I was a child, I was an expert jacks player. And I'm dating myself there because half of you may not even know what jacks are, but I was a great jacks player. Also, another skill that I think I'm good at is making people feel comfortable. That's something that I like to do, is to make people feel, especially women, to feel comfortable and also to feel valued, like they matter. So those are things that I really work on very hard in my life to accomplish. All right, ladies, let's talk about personal Sheros. All right, so today I want you to tell me about a woman in your life that has made a deep and lasting impact on you and the woman that you have become. So this time let's start with Michelle.
Okay, my Shiro is, I would basically say, my mother. Growing up not knowing that she was nurturing me into the woman that I am today. Regarding medical, she will take me whenever time she's going to visit, with a family member if they're ill, or could be church family, and she would take us, which you're young, you're wondering why you want to be around sick people, but then you'll see she'll assist them in doing things or brought them little gifts and stuff like that. So then it kind of nurtured me into start volunteering and stuff before I got older to start working in the medical field. So that's where I started volunteering, because my mom taught me that way that you are to help others when they are in need. So I believe she's my Shiro, because without her, they were laying a path for me, then I wouldn't be in the medical field, because I always see she doing stuff for other people when they're sick, and she herself have been in the medical field too. So she's my Shiro.
All right. One of the other ladies.
Um, well, the first person that most women would think about is their mom, and of course, so do I. My mom is one of the most loving, strong people I know, and she sacrifices so much. She sacrificed so much for me. After she had me, she stopped working. She voluntarily stopped working, and she became my first teacher. She taught me how to read, write, and do math at 2 years old. So by the time I got to grade school, I was 2 levels ahead of everyone else in reading and math. And whatever she couldn't teach me, she let me know. Like, she told me search for the answers on my own. So I learned how to research and broaden my own horizons as well. She's also a big supporter then and now. Every single event that I can ever think of, I have played volleyball, I've been in the arts, I've been in theater, plays, anything that you can think of. She has been at every single event except for two, literally except for two. And that's because we didn't know the address to those, to the buildings. And I told her, I said, just don't worry about it, Mom. So even when she did start working again, she would leave work early sometimes. I remember she would come to the school still in her full-blown suit. She had gotten off work early just so she could catch my volleyball games, like the early games that I had right after work. And my mom is so strong. She has a heart condition, and she also has the same medical condition I have called endometriosis. And ever since she was diagnosed at a really young age for both of these conditions, and she's been through multiple surgeries and been in the hospital so many times. And she was not supposed to have children, but clearly God made a way, and she persevered, and with her faith in God has made her even stronger than she probably knows she is. She doesn't even know she's strong half the time, I don't think. And in the midst of all of that, she taught me that I can still do whatever I want and still keep going, even in the midst of adversity, in the midst of discomfort and pain and whatever circumstances there are, especially because with all things, God is, with God, all things are possible. Yeah.
I really thought long and hard about this question. And of course, like Sister Alex just said, the go-to is your mother. You know, she's your first role model. You look to her for everything. But I guess it really kind of depends also on how you define a hero. And you know what? I kept coming back to the same person, and I don't want any of you to judge me for saying this. But I think that I'm my Shiro. And I say that because I know my story. I had my first daughter before I graduated high school, and it altered the course of my life. And all I knew at that time was I wasn't going to be a statistic. I refused to be a statistic. And teenage pregnancy in the late 80s, early 90s was like through the roof. You know, it was the anticipated end for an African-American girl from the inner city. And I just wasn't going to let it happen. My mother, she deposited into me all that she knew, but it just wasn't enough for me. So at that age of my life, I didn't have anybody to go to say, how do I not become a statistic? How do I make sure that this path isn't the path that my daughters take? Because my mother took the path, my aunts, my grandmothers. So I wanted to break that cycle. So I persevered. I persevered. I did something different. I didn't want to end up working in a factory. I didn't want to end up on welfare. And I didn't have, the support to say, you know what, I'll do this so you can do that. So I had to do it, with my daughter in tow. So I say it from a place of pride. I say it in honestly, all humility, that I'm really godly proud of myself. Because truly, when I look back over my life, I have a testimony. That's all.
Awesome. Yes, you are a Shiro. You are a Shiro. For myself, it's hard for me to pick. I have two women that immediately come to mind. One is definitely my mom, only because my mom was a single mother of 5, brought us from another country. She worked very hard. She would get up, I remember her at 5 o'clock in the morning every day, headed out, going to work in a ham factory just to make sure that her children could have better. So I didn't really appreciate that as I was growing up. I just felt like my mom was always gone at work, but I really appreciate it now that she actually did take the time. She didn't decide, I can't do this. I'm going to give my kids up to foster care or anything like that. She stuck with us, and I thank her for that. And my mom wasn't saved, but she did put that in me. Plus, my mom also had a talent of always showing me how to make things easier. Like, she always said, "Girl, make life easier for yourself. Do it this way." And to this day, when she comes over, she still does that. And she finds me doing something, and she always tells me there's such a quicker, easier way to do that. So I love that about her. The other woman in my life is definitely Mother Rosalind Short, who went on to get her reward back in 1995. And she was only in my life for a short period of time, but she made such an impact on my life, because she was a quiet woman, but she was a woman of great strength. And she was a woman of a lot of prayer. And every time I looked at her, I said, God, I want to be like that. I want to be quiet. I want to have a quiet strength, and I want to be a woman of prayer. And I've always strived to be like that and to be like her. So I thank God for those two women in my lives. All right, ladies, let's talk about famous role models. All right. And we know that role models actually come in all shapes and sizes. And oftentimes there are people that we may not even know them personally or in close proximity with, but we watch them from afar and we love their identity traits and their characteristics are things that we try to emulate. So who have been some female role models that you've looked up to? Who wants to go first? All right.
Okay. Not everybody at once. No. It took me a while. I've been asked this question before, and I believe the last time I was asked this question, I didn't think of anyone. Because sometimes when you think of famous people, at least for me, I like to have a personal connection, or personal relationship with people. So if you ask me about a famous person, I'll say, hey, I like this person, but they're not like a role model or anything. But then I sat there and I thought about it, and you think about certain qualities, like you said, that they might have. And the person that came to the woman that came to my mind is the actress Gabrielle Union. Growing up in the 90s, she was a brown-skinned girl and I was a brown-skinned girl. And seeing that on TV, it's like, wow, like it's somebody that looks like me. And growing up in high school, I wanted to be an actress growing up on stage and on film, and in the films. So I was like, when I grow up and when I actually become an actress, I'm gonna be like Gabrielle Union. She's like strong, level-headed, and she's brown-skinned girl. So, but then I dug deeper the older I got, and even recently, following her on social media like that, and I learned about the trial she endured and how it was, the things she went through, and the self-confidence and the self-esteem she didn't have, and how she's also an introvert. And these are all the things that I battled with growing up, and some of the things that I was bullied for in middle and high school. And seeing her go through all of that and conquer all of that was like, okay, if she can do this and she's on TV in front of millions of people, then I have something that I can look at and see, hey, I can do this too. And
Yes.
also I learned that Gabrielle Union also has endometriosis, and which is why she couldn't have her child naturally. And seeing that, for the record, if you are a woman that has endometriosis or cystic fibrosis or anything like that, you are a warrior. And for someone who's been a warrior for almost 15 years, it is a struggle. So for her to go through all of that, to be married, to still do film and still be strong and still be flawless, yeah, she is a big role model in my life.
Awesome. And endometriosis, it disproportionately affects women of color.
Yes.
Personally, I know some people and had some friends who have battled with that difficulty. All
Yes,
right.
and it's more common than people know. So it's
Yeah.
1 in 9.
All right. Michelle?
I guess I'll go.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Keisha, go ahead.
I could not think of a role model, in that traditional sense that, I want to be like that when I grow up. So the closest I could come, honestly, was this singer, Mary J. Blige. I don't know if any of you say women know. But her music was like the soundtrack of my life. And I may not have reached the depths of despair that, her public life, had maybe caused her to encounter. But for decades, there wasn't a song that she sang that did not speak to something I was going through in my life, whether it was heartache, a breakup, just life. And a lot of her music during my mid 20s to late 20s, it really just it brought me through that time. So I have a lot of respect for her to this day, her public persona, because of course I don't know her personally.
Right.
But I have followed her music and again, just really related to the struggles that she shared of her life through her music, because it was just so very relatable.
Okay. All right.
Okay, for me also, I did not see myself growing up to be this person, as my other sister stated before. However, I chose the first female president of my country. Now, for someone to be the first female president, prime minister, we say prime minister in Jamaica. She was resilient in everything that she do. She decided that she's not going to let all these male counterparts like have her back in a corner to say that, hey, why not throw in the towel? They're men, so I can, run against them more. Whatever they said to intimidate her, she stand up. She was strong. She was determined. She decided that she know how to reach to rural Jamaica. And given the fact that I moved back to the rural area, so I could somewhat relate to her regarding that here's this strong Black woman who understands what it's like to come from a rural area, to know what people, the life that you lived before she became this famous person. And she fought for others. She did not have children. However, it seemed like I think her slogan was "Come home to Mama," and whatever promise that she made regarding, for health care for mothers, especially young mothers, that they could afford health care. She did just that. So I kind of see little things that I would like somewhat emulate, but except for that, I think she was just a cool person.
That's wonderful. Awesome. All right, for me, oh my gosh, I had a hard time with this one also. But the first person that came to mind, of course, is Michelle Obama. Michelle Obama, of course, totally admired this woman. To be married to the first Black president, something that we never thought to be able to see in our lifetime, that we actually got to see a woman of color who was the first lady of the United States, the most powerful nation in the world. I thought it was just awesome. And I had the opportunity to read her biography, Becoming Obama, and it was just, I actually developed a greater respect for her after I read her story. The resiliency, just a strong woman that she was, but she wasn't the type of woman that overran in front of her husband, but you could tell she was a powerhouse there. So she definitely is one that comes to mind. I think I strive to be a strong woman. And I believe that Michelle Obama is a very strong woman, and I admire the things that she's doing even now after she has left the White House. All right, wonderful. All right, ladies, let's talk about biblical hidden figures. All right, the Bible mentions some women by name, but there's a lot of women that are not mentioned by name in the Bible, but they still played a very pivotal role in the kingdom of God. So using a biblical example, how might you encourage a woman who feels nameless if she takes a vital role and has influence in the sphere that the Lord has put in her life? So if you can think of a woman, whether she's named or doesn't have a name, but you feel like she could be a good example for other women in the Bible, who would that be? All right.
So at first I thought unnamed until you just said it could be named unnamed. They just really were. The first person that came to my mind was Rahab. And Rahab, because her life seemed to have already been defined. She wasn't a young woman. She was a woman of a particular age, and she had a particular profession. And it wasn't a profession that many women would aspire to have. And where, you would look down on a woman like that. Like she wouldn't be a role model. She wasn't anyone that you would want your children to emulate. Like, hey, look at Rahab, you want to be just like her. You don't want to be like Rahab. So, but God still used her. And as I thought about her, I went back to, the scripture reference of her in the Bible, Joshua. And, even in God using her outside of her profession in the scripture, she was also a liar. She was asked, hey, where are these men? I don't know. They left out and they went this way and that way. And all the time she had them hidden. So, when you think of what the word of God says, we're going to hold people accountable for thou shalt not lie. You don't commit adultery. Absolutely. Without a doubt. Yes. But to know that in spite of these fallacies, in spite of these flaws in the word of God, God still used her. She became just part of this heritage, in the line of our salvation. So, it's just like, you never know who God is going to use, how God is going to use them. Mindful, again, of myself. My past isn't perfect. Again, I said I had a baby when I was young. So, that just tells you some things. So, but God still can use you. It's not that, you have to be born and saved and constantly. We're not all there. We didn't all start that way. And Rahab was a classic example of that, of how God could take what is perceived as the worst of us and use it for his own good.
Yes. And Rahab is a perfect example how God can take someone who feels, there's no way God could forgive all that I've done and, what I have been. But yet, look how God was able to use her mightily. And she became a mighty in the lineage of God and to bring forth Jesus. And of course, David, she was the great grandmother of David. So it's amazing the life changing power of the Lord. All right. One of the other ladies.
Okay, for me, I chose, I was in between either Ruth or Esther. So I'll go with Ruth. To know that she wasn't really from a family where, oh, I'm the king's daughter or, some famous person in the Bible. And to know that she lost her husband, she could throw in the towel and say, that's it. However, she made that decision being around her mother-in-law to stick with her at such an age instead of, moving on in her life and said, hey, this person will keep me back because look at her age. She decided to make that decision to be her caregiver, knowing that as a woman, she need, in their time, she need a male in their life to, take care of them, whatever wealth she need, that substance financially and physically and everything in their time. And she decided that we're going to survive no matter what. She went, back to that era state, whatever you call it then. And she's willing to work so they're able to eat, make provision not only for herself, but for her mother-in-law. And their things turn around for her. She thinks she was invisible, but dear God, ensure that she was well taken care of. And not only she was well taken care of, also her mother-in-law, because she was obedient by lay herself aside, and being selfless. I mean, that's such a sacrifice, and that sacrifice caused her to be more than resilient, be a strong person and become even rich.
Yes.
So sometimes you're in your situation and you have no idea the people you might meet or what might work out for you, but just by taking that leap of faith as Ruth did, it pay off in the end.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. All right, Sister Alex.
Okay. Well, I was thinking of women in the Bible, and one of the women that sticks out to me, we don't talk about her too much, but Jael, in the story of Deborah, Jael was a gangster, period. And sometimes I like to be a gangster. I like to be the ride or die, because sometimes you never know. Like sometimes you have to make hard decisions, and sometimes it might be uncomfortable, it might be an issue or whatever, but if it's going to be for the greater good, then she made a tough decision and she became a murderer, but it worked out in the story, worked out for God's kingdom. And we don't talk about her much, that story, at least not that I recall. I've been in church a while, but hear or actually study Jael until about last year. And she's one of those people, because of course you hear about the Marys or Priscilla perhaps, or Ruth and Naomi, but Jael in the Old Testament was definitely a gangster. But somebody else I thought of, because a lot of women, they always feel unseen or they feel hidden, like you said, Lady Pruitte. Even if they do get a little bit of acknowledgement, they might be taken for granted. Somebody might take their work and be like, oh yeah, I did this, but no, you didn't do this. A woman did this, or someone else did it. And if I try to give, I guess, advice, nothing in the Bible is a coincidence. Like every single thing, the Bible is perfect. So everything in the Bible was put there specifically for a specific reason. Even if it's for somebody like me, who might feel nameless or taken for granted every now and then I can read in the Bible, you know what, if it wasn't for these nameless women, for example, the grandmother of David, like I know we talk about the great grandmother of David, but who was the mother of Jesse? She is not in the Bible. But if it was not for her, then there would be no David, and more importantly, there would be Jesus. So women like her, they might not even be in the Bible, but if you stop and you think about it, like even like small things that you don't think about, if they don't get done, then who's going to do them? And it might fall apart because a lot of small things can equate to a big thing happening. So
very true.
Keep doing the small thing.
Very true. Very good. Very good. Somebody that came to mind, and it's actually a group of young ladies, and these were the daughters of Zillipad. They actually stood up for their rights. And in a male-dominated world, they decided that, hey, look, our father did not have any sons. All right, but we are his daughters, and we feel that we need to have a part in the land. As Joshua was divvying up the land, and Moses, they went to Moses and said, hey, look, our dad doesn't have sons, and we know that it usually goes to, the land goes to sons, but we're his daughters. Okay, we came out of his loins, so we want to be able to have part in the land. And you know what? Moses said, you know what? The Lord said, you're right. So they actually ended up getting an inheritance during a time when women did not get the inheritance. It would go to the sons, or it would go to the uncles, the cousins, but they, as women, were able to stand up for their rights and do this. So I think that's something that women can take away today is, you know what? We have a voice, and we can use our voices. We can use our voices and get things done. And that's one of the things that I love about women is women have such a resiliency, and they get things done. And especially women of color who came from hardships and so many different things. We have this inner thing where we just don't let things fall on our watch. We get things done. So that's one of the things that I love about women, not just women of color, but women in general. We love to get things done, and we find a way. Yes, we're Sheros. We find a way to get it done. All right. Very good. All right. So now let's shift over to talking about mentors. All right. And have you had any female mentors in your life? So let's share a little bit about some female mentors you may have had that help kind of push you on in your journey in life. So while you're thinking, I'll go ahead and start this time. All right, there's two that came to mind, and both of them were teachers. Teachers are fabulous people because they can really boost your self-esteem and really put you on a path, the right path. So the very first one was my music teacher when I was only in like the first grade. I had just came to the country, did not speak the language, and this music teacher just took an interest in me. And she would, I grew up in the inner city of New York, Upper West Side of Manhattan, in the tenements of Manhattan. And so, we were poor. So she took us, I remember she would take me, my sister, and my brother, she would take us shopping for school supplies. She would buy us clothes for school. She was the first one to took me to Great Adventures. And if you don't know what Great Adventures is, if you're not from New York, it's a theme park, kind of like Six Flags or King's Dominion or whatever your amusement park is in the area that you live. And that was just like mind-blowing to me. I had such a good time. And it was a place that I never would have been able to go because there's no way my mom could afford to take us. But she took me and my sister, and it was just wonderful. So she got to show me different things that I would not have had the opportunity. She took me to an actual restaurant, and I got to sit and eat a meal, things that we did not do. So I thank God for her. Mrs. St. Garris was her name. And my other teacher later on was Miss Marinero, and she was actually a middle school school teacher. And one of the things that I learned from her is she showed me another side of life. I was growing up in the projects of Staten Island. She lived, of course, in the affluent neighborhood. So she took me to her house. She had a pool. I was like, what? You have a pool? I thought that was the coolest thing, in her house. And she would take us to like a fine dining restaurant, things again that I never would have been able to experience. And those are things that helped me, because then I thought to myself, one day I want to have a house. One day I want to be able to afford to go to a nice restaurant, dress up and go to a nice restaurant. So I thank God for those two teachers who made such an impact in my life. Ladies?
Okay, I'll go. I'll use a professional mentor. I have a spiritual one and the professional one. The professional one, her name was or is Denise James. As I mentioned, I am in IT, and I've been involved in IT since 1990. How many years ago was that? And I was always the double minority. For years, I was the only African American, and I was the only woman. IT is traditionally a very white male dominated profession. And for years, I felt stagnant. I knew what my abilities were. I knew I should have been in a management position years ago. But everywhere I went, it didn't matter what experience I had. I was always tier 1, maybe sometimes tier 2, the desktop and network support. And I had been doing it for far too long to start all over. The one time I did try to go into social work because, I'm a leader and I wanted to be an advocate for the people, but that's a whole nother story. So I came back to IT. But it wasn't until I took a position here in Virginia. I moved from Pennsylvania to Virginia for a specific position. And it was still within my realm, still IT, still providing support, but in the government side of the world, was on the MWR side of the house for CYS. So I just maintained IT there. And there was a change in leadership. And one woman who was there, who probably would have been a mentor for me, she left. And I knew something had changed. Like I was going to be stagnant there as well. And I remember sitting in a meeting, and Denise James, she was the director of MWR, and she was hosting a meeting. And a voice said to me, and I attribute it to the Holy Spirit, you need to talk to her. And that's not my personality. I was new. So I'm like, I'm not gonna talk to her. And like it kept nagging at me. So before the meeting was over, I asked her, did she have time to have a conversation with me? I just wanted to kind of share with her who I was and what I brought to the MWR table. She said, well, can you come in on Saturday? I don't work Saturdays. But I said, I absolutely can. And when I met with her on Saturday, I found out that she was a woman of faith. So that we resonated on that level immediately. But when I tell you, God used her in my life until she retired. I mean, every year there was an advancement, not because she favored me, but because she took a chance on me. I told her what I brought to the table. She believed in what I brought to the table. And then I showed her what I brought to the table. And again, whole nother testimony. But she deposited into me the way I approach people at work. Like I'm very matter of fact, very black and white. And she said, well, Keisha, sometimes things aren't black and white. There are shades of gray. You need to know how to navigate those shades of gray water. And I have felt for years that if I had a professional mentor in this field, I would have been a lot further along a longer time ago. But, God's delay is not a denial. And she was put in my life for that reason. The position I hold today, I attribute that to her. Again, because she believed in me, she supported me, she encouraged me. She was a great advocate for me in MWR. So the conversations that were had at other tables outside of Meyer in San Antonio, at headquarters, when I went to different trainings, they were like, okay, so you're Keisha, we heard about you. So she wasn't, I hope at some point in my professional life that I can reach back and be that Denise James to somebody else. That's how instrumental it was in my current career success.
Awesome. All right,
Okay.
ladies.
So my mentor was in college. Her name is Dr. Catherine Murphy Judy. And we would call her Madame MJ because she was one of my French professors. And at first, sometimes in college you have those professors where it's just like, okay, I'm gonna get this class, go through this class, get this grade, move on, get the degree. But she became more than just my professor, and clearly she became a really big mentor in my life, and she took interest in me. And to be honest, I'm not 100% sure why, but I think a lot of it was because she saw potential in me, and she saw parts of herself in me. And I think she also said because her daughter is also named Alex, so I think she just liked me. But she saw that I was skilled in more than one area. Before, when I first got to college, I was a mechanical engineering major. And even though I was making good grades, I was bored to death. I didn't want to do it. I knew that I needed to get out of it and do something that I was interested in. So I changed my major to French. And I believe that's around the time I took one of her classes. She, like I said, she was my French professor, but she also taught global communications and technology. And she was one of the reasons why I ended up changing my major again and graduating with the international studies degree with my minor in French. She said, you don't have to use one skill. You're multifaceted, so be multifaceted. And she has a passion in languages, international studies, international relations, and technology. She started out back in 1969 writing her own computer programs, and she started making her own e-learning tutorials and tools to use in her own classes before everyone else started doing it years and years ago. And so she taught me that I could use a little bit of my math background and languages that I learned and the arts that I love, and I could use that professionally and personally and become more well-rounded. And for the record, a well-rounded woman is downright dangerous, but in a good way. So and she's also one of the reasons why I've realized that I need to be in security. A lot of people don't think that women should be in security, but that's one of the things that, like, if that's what you want to do, if that's what you love, I love to secure and defend and protect people. The name Alex means defender of kind. So I am in the right place. And God puts a lot of people in your life, whether you know it or not. Like, he specifically puts people in your life. Madame MJ was also diagnosed with endometriosis. So when she would see me in pain, she would tell me, it's okay, like, we're gonna breathe through this, or I will be in her office and in pain. And also one day after class, I remember, I'll never forget it, I had just lost one of my friends from kindergarten. I had known him for years. And unfortunately, he passed away from a type of cancer. And I just couldn't concentrate in class that day. I couldn't do it. And I ended up telling her, I said, Madame, I don't think I'm just gonna be that great of a student. And I went ahead and I told her what happened. And she said, Alex, it's okay to be human. Like, it's okay to grieve. I know that we're supposed to be strong and we're not supposed to break down and be, but you are a human and it's okay to cry. And right then and there, I think I broke down crying at like 2:00 in the afternoon. And I ended up going home because at that point, who's thinking about French? So, yeah, she's always been that woman. She always checked my resume. She was like, hey, what are you doing right now? She would send me different tools, of course, online technological tools to use. Even when I decided to change around, I told her that I wanted to be an ambassador at one point and a diplomat. She said, whatever you want to do, make sure that you do the research and you do it and you learn it, you figure it out. And all in all, even in the midst of all of this, when I finally became an investigator a few years ago before I got this job, and other jobs, I had to move from Richmond to Northern Virginia. And I didn't have a lot of places to go. I had friends and everything, but we were all moving. My roommate was moving, and I was like, I don't know. Like, I was still working in Richmond, but I was trying to get my stuff here in Northern Virginia. And she physically took me in to her house, and she let me live with her until I made my official move to Northern Virginia. And how many professors do you know are gonna let you do that? And she had no problem with me just camping out. I had a room and everything like that. And I'm so thankful to Madame MJ even today. And I still keep in touch with her, even though I met her back in 2012. But she's someone that I intend to keep in my life forever. So.
All right, awesome. All right, Michelle.
Okay, mine is my church mother. I didn't really know her like from childhood, or I met her when I was an adult, when it seemed like everything was falling apart, and I was like, oh, 30's just run a corner. I was like, I need to go to school, and I was looking about school, so I talked to my pastor, and he connected me to another pastor, and he was like, I know the perfect person for you to stop. And he said, to be honest, she's an elderly person. And there are other person live at the house, but she's basically by herself. And I met her. She seems nice. And, a little bit skeptic. I was like, yeah, she could be my grandma. I was like, yeah, I think it would be okay. But lo and behold, I didn't know I would be calling her grandma now. I see her as like my biological grandma. I mean, the first week we start boarding at her house, I ran out of money. My cousin was there, none to help the other. This is a total stranger. And I remember she said, girls, do you want anything at the supermarket? And I remember I said, I looked at my cousin, I was like, nope. She was like, don't you forget, I'm the person who gave you guys a space in the refrigerator. I know you guys running out of food. And I mean, she went and she bought us stuff. So I was like, okay, maybe it's just the first time she's doing that. But after we settled in her home, she started cooking for us when we went to class, and we'll come home. And when she really get used to us, she'll allow us to cook, and she'll eat from us. And she'll encourage us when we go to church. She'll go to church with us. And she was also a retired nurse. So that also helped us when we had our school work, because we're going back to class for medical, at the time, medical assistant. And she helped us so much. And after we graduated, I decided, said, I have to stay in contact with her, which I did. She was like, when you get your job, let me know. Which she helped us pray. And I speak it into being that, hey, I graduated sometime in January, I think 2009. And then I speak it into being, and she also confirmed with me by January 2010, I'm going to get a job, which I did. And I was traveling at the time, and I'll call her and say, hey, I got a job, in your town and all of that. And she was like, what are you doing? I said, I'm traveling. She said, why don't you come and stay with me? And she put me up for 3 months without pay.
Awesome.
Every evening I'll go home and eat as if I provided it. She'll wait until I get home. We ate together. And I remember I was like, okay, I need somewhere to stay permanently. I was like, I can't go anywhere. I have to stay with her, because I know when we didn't really have it, she was really there, not only physically, spiritually, emotionally, she was there. And even now I become part of her family. If she need anything personal to get done, she'll call on me. Now even another family member become part of her, even though I migrated here. That's the sort of person she is. And she's in her 90s. She's 99 now. She lost her sight, but which I can't inform her about the passing of my mom after pretended, oh, she's in the hospital. But God is good.
Yes,
I
yes.
do love her, and I cherish every moment that I met her.
Awesome. That's wonderful, ladies. All right. During this pandemic, pouring into the lives of women and encouraging other women looks a little bit different. You know, we're used to the hugs and people crying on your shoulder and things like that. But what are ways that we can continue to encourage women even during this unique time? Quickly, give me a way that you're able to do this, and it could be something you do personally or just something a suggestion that you make.
Okay,
Hmm.
Go ahead, sister.
okay,
Go ahead.
I'll start. For me, which most of my family is back home in my country, which my husband informed me that the specific person he realized that they look up to me. So regarding working full time anymore, well at the beginning, and I would listen, and what I'll try to do, I try to share my experience. Say, hey, do you remember this that was happening?
Okay.
And was it not the same God who take me through A through B? And I'll remind them, they'll know exactly what I was going through. So I'll say, okay, if the same God take me through that, what about you?
That's wonderful. All right, so listening is definitely one that we can use. What's another one that maybe one of you other ladies use?
We do a some friends and I through the Bible app, and at the end of each day that you're reading the scripture, there's a what do you think. So we encourage and support each other in that forum.
Okay, wonderful. Alex?
I use one of the love languages, which is acts of service. So even if I can't physically be there, I text a lot of people because I love to receive acts of service and I love to give them. So I'll text somebody one day and I'm like, hey, have you eaten today? Like, have you thought about yourself today? How was your day? Because women want to be heard. Sometimes they just need to be reminded, like, hey, I'm not just a mother. I'm not just a teacher. I'm not just this person, but I am me. And that's a way.
Awesome, very good. And one of the ways that I like to do it is, besides calling and checking up on the ladies, I like to send with the virtual hugs. I love the little gifts on that you can send through text message. Just send kind of like a little hug, letting them know that you're thinking about them, or just to send them a little bit of love. Another thing I know, like when I go outside, because now people don't talk because we got the mask and all the different things. One of the things I try to do, I try to practice smiling with my eyes when I look at people, and also I'll give a little nod, kind of like I'm actually smiling under this mask, just to let them know that even though we can't touch and do the things that we used to do, we are still concerned. All right.
All right, ladies, we are going to start our lightning round trivia. During this lightning round, I will name a famous female in history, and I want you to share the one word or short phrase that comes to mind when you think of that woman. So feel free to just jump in if a name resonates with you and you want to share for that particular individual. Here we go. Ava DuVernay.
Filmmaker.
Artist.
Excellent director.
Cicely Tyson.
Pioneer.
Timeless actress.
Iconic.
Claudette Colvin.
She's the first one who wouldn't give up her seat.
She's
civil rights.
Before Rosa Parks.
Vice President Kamala Harris.
A sister vice president.
Just awesome.
Strong.
Katherine Johnson.
Hidden figure.
Revolutionary.
So I was gonna say Hidden Figures.
Human calculator.
Yes.
Smart.
Dr. Kizzmekia Corbett.
Scientist.
COVID vaccine. She worked on it, the Pfizer one.
She's a Genius.
Mother Lizzie Woods Robinson.
First supervisor of women for the Church of God in Christ.
She said.
Mary McLeod Bethune.
Educator.
Door opener.
Civil rights leader.
Dr. Maddie Moss Clark.
Perfectionist.
Luther.
Music department leader. Clark sisters' mom.
She's a perfectionist.
Yes, she was a perfectionist too.
Lifetime movie.
Yes.
First Lady Michelle Obama.
Oh, flawless. Love her.
Elegant.
Powerful
You
sister.
walk through the open doors.
Oprah.
Talk show mogul.
Philanthropist.
Billionaires. Billionaires. A sister billionaires.
Ruby Bridges.
Desegregation.
Brave. It was definitely
Civil
brave.
rights.
Sheila Johnson.
BET.
I'm gonna say BET, but also Essence, Jet. She owns half of I think a baseball team. She's just a powerful sister.
I'm gonna say dope. That's all there is to it.
Congresswoman Shirley Chisholm.
Oh.
First Black Congresswoman,
Mhm.
Shirley Chisholm.
Activist. She was the first woman to run for president. So there you go.
Simone Biles.
Athletic.
Olympic.
Yeah,
Yes.
Olympic medalist.
From the 7'5". Oh, that's Gabby Douglas. Never mind.
Oh my goodness. All right,
And
lady.
finally, one last one.
Mhm.
First Lady Vivian Valdez Pruitt.
Amazing.
Just heart comes to mind.
Humble.
Heart.
Faithful
Spiritual. So well grounded.
mother.
Oh, blessed, highly
People
faithful.
person.
Just a wonderful
I know
woman
what
of
I'm
God.
talking about.
Persistent.
Oh my goodness. Thank you,
Of
lady.
the Old Testament.
Yes, that's true. That's
Fire
true.
warrior.
That is true. That is true. Awesome. Thank you so much, ladies, for being with us. So I want to give some final reflections. And remember, we started off talking about our personal Sheros, and I want to give us just a couple of, just about 1 minute, to kind of give an open letter to your Shiro, one of the ladies that you mentioned at the very beginning.
Well, like I said, my Shiro was my mom. So, Ma, I'm gonna just talk to you now because whether I send you this video or not, you're gonna watch it. So even before you supported me then, you support me now. You worry, but that's your job. And you are so strong and so great. And I learned so much from the words you said and the words that you didn't say, even through your silence. Even though you didn't go to college, you're an acclaimed bookkeeper now, and Ma, you're dope. And I thank you so much, and I am going to support you when you start the business that you want to start. I'm speaking it into existence right now. And you're not my Shiro, you are my superhero.
I speak about my mom too, even though she's no longer here with us. But I just want to thank her for her strength, for her determination, for being there as a single mother, for working, for being there even when she didn't have a car, for meeting us when there were like times when we could not, we couldn't come home on time, we didn't reach home on time, but she was always there. I love you, Mom. Thank you.
Sister Scott, eyes have not seen, ears have not heard all that God has in store for you. Continue to trust God. Thank God for your past. Be confident in who you are today, to let totally go of your past. It has helped to shape you. It has not defined you. There is greater in store for you. I love you, Sister Scott.
Mother Short, I want to thank you for being such a vital person in my life. And although I knew you for just a short time, you made a great impact in my life. I went to see you the day before you passed. And as I held your hand and was praying for you, one of the things that I asked the Lord was to give me a double portion of your spirit. Because again, I know you're a strong woman and you're a woman of prayer. And that is what I deemed to be. That was one of the things that I really wanted the Lord to give me, is to be a woman like you, a woman of prayer and of quiet strength. I love you and I thank you for the time that you spent in my life and for pouring into me. God bless you, Mother Short, and take your rest. Ladies, I want to thank you again. We were celebrating women this month, and I want to thank you so much for sharing. Alex, Michelle, and Keisha, thank you so much for being with us. And I want to thank you, those of you who are listening to us, for tuning in one more time to Conversations with Lady Pruitte. God bless you. Goodbye, ladies. Thank you.
Bye.